And good evening to all. Myself Vaibhav. I welcome all of you to today's session of Visual JForex, in which we will be starting afresh with a new indicator. The name of the indicator is trend envelope, and as you can guess from the name, this indicator gives us a good idea of what the trend is, whether it is bearish or bullish, and accordingly we can design a system to take advantage of that. We can look for buy trades in the bullish momentum, whereas we can look for the sell trades if the momentum is bearish. So let us get started. We head to the Visual JForex board, which has been developed by the Dukascopy Bank SA. You will find these indicator amongst the trend indicators just below the NATR. Last session was dedicated to normalized average true range. This time around, we will be working with the trend envelopes. We will see how we can design a system to optimize the trade entries based on the output values of these trend envelope, the low band and the higher band. And this session, we are not really going to look into the nitty-gritties of the technical parameters, technical aspects of how the indicator derives its values, but we will be more concerned with the functional aspects of it. So now we head to the JForex platform, where I will explain to you what the logic is for the algorithm development using this indicator. Here I have plotted the trend envelope indicator with the default parameter of 14 candle periods, and the deviation is zero point 0.1. You can modify, you can edit the parameters if you wish. Here you get the edit options. It is showing bit of lag. Okay, so deviation is zero point 0.1, time period is 14. We leave it as it is. We work with the default values, and the logic is going to be fairly simple. We want to be trading with the trend, and we want to initiate the trade at the first moment, first hourly change, where we see that the momentum changes from bearish to bullish or vice versa. We want to look for the buy trade when we see the momentum turning bullish from bearish, and when it turns from bullish to bearish, we will be looking to go for a sell trade. And as you can see, we have these higher band and the lower band helping us determine the momentum. If we see the hourly candle close below these high band, that means the momentum is bearish, and if we see the hourly closing values above the low band, that means the momentum is bullish. So it's quite simple to understand. We are taking these outputs derived with the default values, but once in a while, or you can say quite regularly also, we see there is not much of a momentum. We see these topsy-turvy moves for a couple of hours. The momentum is bearish, then it turns bullish, then again back to bearish. But all in all, it shows that the underlying instrument is going nowhere. It is simply oscillating in a narrow band. So to avoid this kind of trade generation where we see multiple trades being generated but no significant move in either direction, we will have to add some additional parameters, or you can even take the help of other indicators. But this series is dedicated to formations which are quite simple to understand and quite simple to build. So we will try out one simple combination which might help us avoid losses to some extent, but of course no formation is fully perfect, and this being a simple formation, we are only taking the minimum cautious which we can take. So what we will do, instead of initiating the trade straight away after the close of first hourly candle, whenever trend change happens, we can go for the pending order, where we can place the order closer to the opening value. It can be exactly at the opening value also, and we can assign some order validity of say 2 hours or 3 hours depending on your requirement. And when we see the price again reaching back to the initial levels, the trade will be initiated. So that is one method which we can deploy. Or you can invert the formation. Instead of going on the lower side, you can place the order on the higher side. If the momentum continues, then the execution will happen, and if the momentum doesn't, then no execution will happen. So both these options, both these choices are open. And this time around we will work with the other second option, where we will be placing the order below the closing value for the sell trade and higher than the opening value for the buy trade. So to some extent that will help us out, but of course it is also, as you can see, not a 100%, not a short method, but it is going to help us avoid this kind of situations to some extent. So I hope you have been able to understand the logic. It's quite simple. We will be looking to initiate the sell trade when we see the hourly candle close of the last hour happening below the lower band of the trend envelope of the penultimate hour, and the order will be placed on the lower side. So we will take into account the difference between the opening value and the closing value, and order will be placed exactly below this closing value. We are using this difference, and we will subtract it from the closing value of the last hour, and we will be placing the order there. So that is how, if we see the momentum continues to be bearish, and if we continue to see the fall, see the decline, then the trade execution will happen. Similarly, here for the buy trade also, we will be placing the order on the higher side. If the underlying instrument goes higher, then the order will execute. If it doesn't, then no execution will happen. So this time around, no execution would have happened. Okay, so that's how the system is going to work. Now let us head back to the Visual JForex board. And first thing first, we will have to get the instrument subscription done. We are working with the Euro USD as the default instrument. So for that, we are going to need if block logical formation start point is going to be on candle. And for defining the instrument subscription, we need two if else statements, which will be followed by the position amount condition. Okay, so here we have this, and we need default instrument has been added. After that, we match it with the on candle. Something is not working here. I'm not sure what's happening. Okay, we try with another block. Oops. In my haste, I kind of forgot to ensure that type is same. Okay, so default instrument Euro USD. Okay, and then we have to consider candle instrument, not last ask candle. So we have to be precise here, the fact which I overlooked initially. So pardon me on that count. Now we have to ensure that it is the case that first input equals second input. The last bit candle instrument should be default instrument, which is Euro USD. Okay, I remove it, and in this second if condition, we have to again ensure that the candle instrument matches the instrument of choice. So we have to find Euro USD in this list, which is a big task in itself. If you are not really able to figure out where, okay, I got the Euro USD. Now we have to define the position info condition. All position amount should be equal to 0, and after that we bring in the trade envelope indicator. Now coming to candle period, this is 10 minutes, which I am going to change to hourly. The shift value needs to be changed to 2. These other parameters, the time period and the deviation, remains as per the default setup. We are not making any changes, and these output values then will be utilized. And to consider the price action data, we have to take into consideration the info components, get historical candle. Here you have to consider this value. The look back period is 2, and for this get historical candle we are going to keep the look back period of 1. So this will be last hourly candle, whereas the trade envelope values will be for the penultimate hourly candle, the candle before the last hourly candle. Okay, and here also we need to change the candle period to hourly. Then we bring in 10-second historical candles. The setup is quite simple, so we are not going to need many logical or the trend calculating indicator blocks. This will need to be changed to 10 seconds. This one as well. And the look back period will be changed to 1. And in this case it will be 2. Okay. Now we have to consider the calculation expression. So we are going to need calculation expression block, and in it we are going to consider the difference between the closing and the opening value of the candle 15. We have to consider values in both the scenarios where the closing value is higher than the opening value, as well as the closing value being lower than the opening value. When the closing value will be higher than the opening value, that will be the case for initiating the buy trade. If the closing value is lower than the opening value, then that will be helping us determine to go for the sell trade. So we have to put in the difference. So in first case, we will be deducting the candle between candle open price and close. So here we will deduct closing value from the opening value. So this is going to be A1 minus A2, and this will be for sell side difference. And another we will deduct for the buy side difference. In that case, the closing value is going to be higher, so we deduct the opening value from the closing value. E1 minus E2. And this will be buy side difference. Okay. So in this session, we have added these indicator as well as the info blocks, which are going to help us determine the conditions for the execution of the buy as well as for the sale trade. And with this, we stop for the day here. But when we come back next time around, we will define the condition first for the execution of the buy trade, and then afterwards, it will be the turn of the sell side trades. So thank you all for joining in. If you want to look for the data related to the market developments, do check out the Dukascopy Analytics page, for which the link has been provided. To enter into the in-depth discussions on the market developments, you can also check out the Facebook page of the bank. We are also available on the Facebook. And once we are done with the algorithm development, you are going to need the help of JForex platform for carrying out the testing on the historical data. All these links have been provided. Thank you all for joining in. See you next time. Till then, have fun. Goodbye.